Welcome to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we're about to unpack something genuinely fascinating. Today, we're diving headfirst into the documentary The Meta Secret. We're going to explore its core premise, which is all about how we can completely restructure our wealth, our relationships, our health, and our happiness. And the wild part? It's all about shifting the very direction from which we approach our lives. So let's get right to it. Now, if you're at all familiar with the self-help space, you've definitely heard of the law of attraction, right? It's that idea that visualizing what you want brings it right to your doorstep. But the documentary asks a really vital question. Why does passively visualizing our goals so often fail to actually get us results? According to the film's premise, simply building a picture in your mind is an incomplete equation. There is a missing puzzle piece. We need to figure out what lies beyond it. And that brings us right to the core definition. The documentary argues that 99% of people live outside in. Basically, they let external circumstances, like the daily news, other people's opinions, or financial stress, completely dictate their internal emotional state. Well, the meta secret is the exact opposite of that. It's the practice of letting your inside world, your clarity, your focus, your beliefs, control and create your outside reality. It's about flipping that dynamic entirely. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for how we're going to apply this to the 4 pillars of life. 1, beyond the law of attraction. 2, action, value, and wealth. 3, the mirror of relationships. 4, vibrations of a healthy body. And 5, happiness is an inside job. Section 1, beyond the law of attraction, the missing puzzle piece. The documentary actually compares the traditional, passive nature of the law of attraction, where you visualize, ask, believe, and essentially just sit back and wait for the universe to deliver, with the highly active, value-driven approach of the meta secret. The film points out that if you just sit around on your couch passively visualizing, the world is probably not going to beat a path to your door. The meta secret requires massive action and the creation of actual, real-world value. Jack Canfield, the co-creator of that massive Chicken Soup for the Soul book series, he really hits the nail on the head here. He shares an anecdote in the film noting that his immense success wasn't just about visualizing bestseller lists. I mean, sure, he did put up mock posters around his office, but he stresses that believing actually means taking the necessary steps. Because if you truly believe your actions are going to pay off, you'll actually take the action required to get there. Section 2, action, value, and wealth. I literally love this linguistic breakdown from the source. Listen, we all want satisfaction in our financial lives, right? Well, satisfaction actually comes from the Latin root satis, which means enough, combined with the word action. So enough action produces the result. The film emphasizes that achieving wealth means doing the things that produce wealth, acting in spite of your fear, your doubt, and your uncertainty. It's not just a feeling, it's a measurable output of effort. This perfectly sets up the story of the Wright brothers, which the documentary uses to brilliantly illustrate what happens when you just ignore the limitations imposed by the masses. Think about it. The whole world believed human flight was impossible, but these 2 bicycle mechanics from Ohio, they didn't know how they were going to do it at first. They just knew their internal desire. They took a quantum leap in success because they started way before they were ready, completely defying external limitations by relying entirely on their internal drive. Section 3, the mirror of relationships. When a relationship hits a wall, our first instinct is usually, to point fingers. We focus outward, we blame, we try to change the other person. But the documentary insists this is just giving away your power. The meta secret approach is all about taking 100% responsibility. The film argues that if you want to fix an unloving relationship, you absolutely have to start by changing your relationship with yourself. When you love and respect yourself unconditionally, you naturally become a magnet for much better connections. The documentary offers a super practical framework to actually do this, and it centers entirely around forgiveness. If you're out there looking for love and just not finding it, the film suggests you look at where you lack forgiveness. Step 1, identify who needs forgiving. Maybe it's a parent, an ex, or hey, maybe it's yourself. Step 2, actively choose to forgive them. And step 3, understand deeply that at any given moment, people are really just doing the best they can with what they have. The source claims this process releases stuck psychic energy and literally opens up fresh pathways for new love to enter your life. Section 4, vibrations of a healthy body. Now, just a quick note as we step into this one, we're neutrally exploring the film's alternative health and metaphysical claims regarding how the mind impacts the body. The film brings up this fascinating claim from Dr. Masaru Emoto, stating that the human body is roughly 85% water.
According to the documentary, Emoto's research argues that water actually holds memory and is directly affected by the vibrations of our thoughts. So the idea is that harboring negative thoughts or deep resentment negatively impacts the very cellular makeup of your body. Meanwhile, positive thoughts and forgiveness create a healthy, thriving internal environment.
But, and this is key, it's not all just metaphysical thought work. The film actively pairs these mental laws with some very specific real-world physical actions to maintain a toned and detoxified system. They recommend a totally holistic approach, eating organic foods, drinking clean, chlorine-free water, hitting both resistance and endurance exercises, practicing flexibility through yoga or Pilates, and regularly detoxifying the body, like doing a liquid cleanse to give your liver a break. It's really about bridging the physical and the metaphysical. Now, to help manage the stress that, according to the film, creates physical illness, the source suggests a really unique mental exercise. They suggest repeating this phrase to yourself, perhaps even 1,000 times. I'm not a body, I live in a body. I'm not a body, I live in a body. The whole idea here is to conceptually detach from your physical limitations. By viewing your body as just a vessel rather than your entire identity, the film argues you can command it to relax, finally releasing the tension and stress that cause disease. And that leads to this truly wild anecdote shared in the film about a man named Norman Cousins. Cousins was actually given a dying diagnosis, but he realized something totally profound. If sadness and stress link to sickness, then happiness and laughter simply must link to health. So he packed up, moved out of the hospital into a hotel, and had people bring him old, funny Laurel and Hardy films. The documentary claims he quite literally laughed his way back to health, using humor to fundamentally alter his brain chemistry and his body's vibration. Section 5. Happiness is an inside job. So the crucial point is what the film calls the human paradox. We human beings are perpetually somewhere else in our minds. We're either brooding over the past or we're obsessing about the future. But by constantly throwing our power into the past or the future, we put our happiness perpetually on hold. We're just waiting for a condition that doesn't even exist yet. The documentary insists that real, anchored happiness is only ever available right now, right here in this exact present moment. Here's a detail I found absolutely fascinating. The documentary highlights the Hopi Indians of the American Southwest. It's reported that they wake up every day and pray to the Great Spirit to allow them to make 20 mistakes a day. 20 mistakes. Why? Because they believe that failing is the only actual way to learn and grow. If you reframe failure not as this massive source of unhappiness, but as a necessary fountain of wisdom, you completely free yourself from the fear that's keeping you stuck. The film really pushes this idea that one of the most important things you can do for your own happiness is to discover your true life purpose. Think about it. Are you spending your days doing what you absolutely love, or are you just letting time pass? The documentary argues that working just to earn money is frankly a terrible way to live. Instead, real work should be about deep satisfaction. We need to spend our days doing what we love, fulfilling our unique purpose, because otherwise everything else is just watching the clock. All right, as we wrap up, let's summarize the core actionable takeaways we've derived from the Meta Secret. First, internal clarity creates our external reality. You've got to live inside out. Second, the law of attraction demands massive, value-driven action. Third, your relationships reflect your inner state, so use forgiveness to unlock them. Fourth, manage your health by pairing physical wellness with positive mental vibrations. And finally, actively choose to anchor your happiness in the present moment, rather than losing it to the past or the future. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. If it is entirely true that your inner world dictates the reality you experience every single day, what exactly are you building on the inside right now? Are you building walls of fear and resentment, or are you building a rock-solid foundation of massive action, forgiveness, and present moment joy? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, keep growing, and I'll see you next time.